There was always different versions of dad that would walk through that door. And they could usually tell by my cadence on my footstep, by the way I opened the door. Literally, the energy would introduce me before I even opened my mouth. All right, welcome to another episode of Feedback. I'm your man, Nick Alfano, and today we are discussing how to build the four-dimensional man. Sometimes you'll hear me call this the self-made man, and I'll go ahead and give you what that acronym looks like right now. But where this stems from, where this comes from is, you hear a lot of people out there talk about balance and work-life balance and, how to live this like well-rounded, life. We don't really preach the concept of work-life balance. I think it's fair to say that oftentimes you'll find yourself in seasons, and as long as you know you're going into a season and you communicate what that's going to look like with those that are closest to you, like i.e. your spouse, your kids, maybe your close friends or business partners, while you're in that season, you might be majoring in a certain area of your life, and by default, it's going to cause some other areas to wane slightly is the key. But essentially, this whole thing of like getting this thing to a 50-50 blend or just finding that happy little sweet spot, that pocket, it is almost impossible. And I think when you strive to do that, you kind of just show up in a lot of areas of your life half-ass because you're trying so hard to do everything to a certain degree that you really just spread yourself thin. And again, if you were just to say, we live in 90-day sprints here inside of, what I call the program, but this podcast is about feedback. So I have a container called the program. I work with male entrepreneurs married with kids. And inside of that container, we live in these 90-day sprints where we basically commit to something very hard for 90 days. We put our head down and we just get after it. And then we come up for air every 90. We do a bit of an assessment, and then we course correct and set new targets, etc. Obviously, those 90 days are typically split up in quarters, Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4 throughout the calendar year. So as I record this right now, we are just past Valentine's Day, which means we are obviously halfway through Q1 of 2025. And so my guys are having to do a pretty hard look right now because they're halfway through a 90-day sprint. And while most people come to me and they want to learn how to make more money, like, hey, Nick, how do I make a bunch of money, bro? The reality is when you learn how to get the other houses in order, the other three dimensions, right, to become a four-dimensional man, the money is just a byproduct of the person that you become. And so you'll hear me scream these a lot, 4 domains, which also house 8 elements. But those 4 domains are as follows, and in this order: faith, family, fitness, and then finance. Faith, family, fitness, and finance. And the reason we put finance at the end, aka your money, your earning, your net worth, your assets, all the things go at the end of that, is because for a long time, I, like many men out there, idolized the almighty dollar, and I put money over everything, and everything I did was to earn an extra dollar, and I was basically in this loop where money defined me, and so all I could do was just make more money because I felt that was my identity. Hustler, baller, how do you get from rich to wealthy? Like, just continue to play this game and have the optics appear as those Nick has finances figured out. And so for a long time, I referred to myself, or when I look back at myself, I refer to myself, back then as a one-dimensional douchebag. And so what we have been striving to do for 6 years now is really flip the game on its head. And how can you show a man that wants to make a bunch of money that until he gets his faith, his family, and his fitness in line, it's going to be very difficult. And if he does make a tremendous amount of money, in my experience, if you put finance first and you find a way to quote-unquote win, whether it's on paper or from a place of optics, etc., it's usually easy come, easy go. Because here's a line to remember about money, and this one's important. Money doesn't fix anything. Money doesn't make you happy. Money isn't the answer. Money literally just makes you more of who you already are. Money's an amplifier. And so, like, for a long time, I was a shithead with money because I figured out how to make a lot of money. And all money does to a person who hasn't figured out really who they are is it amplifies who they are because now they have leverage. Now they have the ability to take let's call it a bad decision, and do it on a grand scale in front of more people because they have the leverage to do it, the resources, the money, the capital, etc. So money, in my experience, not only like anecdotally, like i.e. myself and my experience with money, but what I've seen it do with entrepreneurs over case studies, pushing 20 years now, is the guys that put money on a pedestal and chase money often sacrifice to some degree their faith, their family, and their fitness. And these guys. Let's run them back. Fitness. You might know a guy, you could think of him right now, who is quote unquote wealthy or rich or seems to have it all, but he has sacrificed his body as a result, right? So maybe he worked himself so hard, he looks a lot older than he probably is, right? So he hasn't aged well. That's like internally. Or maybe he's just a little heavy, right? Maybe he's like, hey, I don't have time to hit the gym at 4 a.m., bro, and lift weights and run a marathon or an Ironman. Like, I don't have time for that. I'm out here earning money, bro. And so over the years, he has sacrificed his fitness domain in order to grow his finance domain. Let's take it back another one, family. This was probably gets neglected. We're going to say faith is probably the highest, but family is definitely one of the higher ones that gets neglected because most men, and this was me for a long time, by the way, if they're working on their finance and they have an ego, which I did, a huge ego, and we all still have an ego to some degree, but I'd like to think I've gotten mine in check over the years. A lot of times you'll find the two that are in line are fitness and finance, meaning there are a lot of guys who actually make really good money and are in pretty good shape. Most of the time it's because they just want, again, the optics of what it looks like. Now, when I say in shape, don't get it twisted. They appear to be in shape. They might be aesthetically pleasing, but they might not be the healthiest dude in the world. So they've made enough money to leverage some resources, to free up some time, to get back in the gym, or to buy the drugs, to get lean, to get shredded, the growth hormone, the steroids, all the shortcuts. They've leveraged all of these tools so that they can appear to match their bank account. And then they've got the guy who, if you pop the hood, is really not as healthy as he appears to be on the outside. So we'll keep pushing back. Let's say the guy's got fitness and finance in order. Cool, dude. What does your family life look like? Again, this was me for a long time. Finance was on point. Fitness was on point. But because I spent so much time either working or working out, I was neglecting my four walls. So now you've got a guy who's got two of the four dialed in. He thinks he's the man, right? Bit of a narcissist, bit of an ego, right? Egomaniac, we can call him. And he can't understand why when he steps out of his four walls, he's King Kong. When he goes to the gym, he's the buffest dude there. When he goes to the office, well, he owns the thing. He employs people left, right, and center. He helps people make money. He's the man. So he's the man in the gym. He's the man in his office, but he's never the man inside of his four walls at home. And usually this man will start to tell himself stories that his family doesn't get him. His family doesn't have the same standards that he does. Whatever it is, this is the man that steps out on his family, steps out on his wife. And so trying to find that balance of putting family, what would it look like? For example, if sounds like you, what would it look like to actually major in family for Q1 or Q2? So for 90 days straight, you're going to put family before your fitness and your finance. You're going to be home at a certain time every single day. You're going to date your wife. You're going to date all three kiddos if you have three kiddos. Again, I'll usually just insert my particular story here. If you've got three babies, they all speak different love languages. They all need different forms of attention, different forms of communication, and more importantly, different forms of connection. And so what does that look like, and how can you prioritize that and not work so many hours, not go straight from the office to the gym? Some of you guys are waking up, going to the gym, going to hustle mode, bro, and going back to the gym. By the time you get home, you're so spent, your family's getting the leftovers. While the rest of this world is getting the main course, the main version of you, the best version of you. You're awesome. You're King Kong. Pound your chest. Do you know how much money I make, bro? Do you know how much I bench, bro? When's the last time you dated your wife? When's the last time you came home and were just absolutely hyper present, put the cell phone down and play with the kids, whatever they want to do, even if it's something you absolutely hate doing? Because it doesn't matter if it's tea party or paint your nails. It's time with that kid that they'll remember for the rest of their life, but you were too selfish to get down on a knee and drink a cup of tea. We have this saying that we teach our dads inside of the program, and I don't remember where I heard this, but it's not mine, and I'm always going to try and give credit where credit's due. Actually, I heard this from a gentleman named Derek Keller, and I'm not sure if it's an original of his, but to me it is, so here we go. This was 5-6 years ago. He said this, and it hit hard, and we've since then kind of made a framework out of it, because that's what I do. I'm a framework junkie. Sometimes it's awesome. Sometimes you guys are over it. I get it. When Dad gets home, he sets the tone. When Dad gets home, he sets the tone. And so for a lot of my dads out there that are, again, I work with high-level dudes. Almost all of them are entrepreneurs. They're definitely workaholics. Can you park the car a mile away? Can you park in your driveway? Can you do something, even if it takes 6, 7, 8 minutes until you get better at this, to kind of reframe and reset before you walk through that threshold called your front door? Like, can you park all of the emails in your inbox, the fact that payroll's late, the fact that the business is burning down, the one deal got canceled, you don't know what it looks like, oh my gosh, we're coming up on tax season, like all of the things in your head that you're carrying that energy with you through the front door to those babies, to that beautiful wife of yours, can you reframe and reset before you walk in the door? And so our guys actually chant this, and everyone's got a bit of a different routine. Obviously, some of them just latch on to like mine or one we've used in the past until they make their own. But it's as simple as a meditation, a breath work. Maybe it's a particular song that reminds you of your wife and kids, and it kind of changes your state of being instantly. But a lot of times it is basically going from sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight. Like when you're at work all day and you're putting out fires and you're doing the things and you're in hustler mode and you just came from the gym, your CNS, your central nervous system, is typically in fight or flight mode. It's in go, 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 go mode. Your heart rate's higher than usual. Your breathing is higher than usual. What can you do to bring that back down and go from sympathetic to parasympathetic? And between the two, I'll give you the quick way to remember these. I want you to think of parasympathetic as a parachute. Like you just deploy the chute and you just kind of coast on down, right? Back down to ground level, nice and easy, nice and smooth. That's called rest and digest. That's where you slow your breathing down, you slow your heart rate down, and you kind of woo-saw. So can you go from getting your central nervous system from crazy fires to put out hustle mode to chill dad mode, and can you walk through that door with an energy that the kids are excited for you to come home? Like I could tell you, for example, my babies are 22, 20, and 17 as I record this. And they've told stories, and these stories hurt, but they're the truth, that there was always different versions of dad that would walk through that door. And they could usually tell by my cadence on my footstep, by the way I open the door. Literally, the energy would introduce me before I even opened my mouth. And they would oftentimes hide from crazy, worked up, super hustler mode, get it done, cranky dad. Because the first thing I do when I walk in with that kind of energy is I look for problems. Because I've been putting out fires all day. I've been a problem solver all day because as men, we're natural problem solvers, or so we think. So I'm instantly looking for, did the chores get done? Is the homework done? Am I coming home to a mess? Is there food on the table? Where are my kids? What are they doing? I just worked all day. I literally at times would say things like, and this was in my head, maybe it came out loud, I did 47 things today. What did you do, kid? Like I would literally play comparison games with my kid. Like, yo, we get things done in this family. We're Alfanos, so check it out. I did 40 some odd things. I come home and you're sitting here playing video games. We got a problem, chief. Get up and do things that are productive. Ready, set, go. And I would treat them like employees at times. But the point is I would come home with this energy that didn't serve anybody, but I was so obsessed with making money and looking cool that I neglected my four walls, and I brought this energy. So I'll rewind real quick and just hit you with that again. When dad gets home, he sets the tone. What can you do, right? This will be a cool little game to play later. Dude, it's hot in here with these freaking lights on. Woo! Anyway, what can you do to literally just pull up at your driveway or pull up down the street if the kids are, maybe you've got youngins that like to run outside and greet you sometime and you're not ready for them yet. Just basically create a routine that allows you to have a state change, and then you decide what state or what energy you want to bring into your four walls. Come up with something, give that some practice this week, a couple days in a row, and just see the difference in how your family responds to you. Because a lot of times we get frustrated with how our family's showing up for us, but the reality is we set the tone. We are the king of that castle. And when we come in with an attitude, we're going to get attitude. We come in with negative energy, we're going to get negative energy. So if you want your family to show up different, you have to show up different. So let's rewind this again. I'm obsessed with money, and so I let my fitness slide. I'm obsessed with money, and so maybe I let my family, duties slide. I'm obsessed with money, and so my faith also suffers. One of the things about guys that are quote-unquote hustlers or stuck in hustler mode or, earn it, bro, oftentimes they're control freaks. Oftentimes, again, this is usually an ego play. If they've been successful in an industry or multiple industries, or they're just successful like objectively, they genuinely believe at their core that they were 100% responsible for that success. And so with that control freak mentality, or that, sometimes, you feel like you have the Midas touch, like everything I do is awesome. My standards must be higher than everybody's. I must be awesome. I must be the man. I'm in complete control. You tend to start to drift from your faith. You tend to forget that everything you've done up until now and everything you will continue to do is God's plan. And you put no stock in the fact that you are literally here to serve God. And so your faith starts to diminish. And by the way, I'll get to this in a second, but there's two elements inside of faith. There's faith in a higher power. We use the word God here on this podcast. And then there's faith in yourself. And sometimes your faith in yourself is so misguided because you attach your belief in yourself to your ability to get stuff done. You attach your faith in yourself to all of your accolades. Like you're an affirmation-seeking junkie. Everything you do is to seek affirmations from other people. And so this belief in yourself is actually a false belief in yourself, because most people that are operating at that level but don't know who they truly are literally overcompensating for the fact that they don't actually believe in themselves at their core. And I know that sounds wonky. It sounds kind of weird, right? But you're saying, Nick, I believe in myself so much because I'm an egomaniac, but at the same time, at my core, I have a worthiness issue. And the reason you have a worthiness issue and you overcompensate by accomplishing things is because you think if you don't do the things, well, what are you worth? Like, who are you at your core if you're not out there doing the things? So I just want you to stop and consider for a moment how detrimental it can be to put finance as your first, and for some people, your only domain. When I get the money, then I'll date my wife. When I get the money, my wife will be attracted to me like she was when we first started dating. When I get the money, I'll pay for whatever it takes to get the gym membership and the trainer and the drugs, and I'll look awesome. So when I get the money, I'll get the body I had in high school, or maybe never had, but I'll get it done. When I get the money, my kids will respect me. When I get the money, my kids will love me. When I get my money right, this entire world will affirm me. They will have no choice. I will have done everything that Instagram and Facebook and X and all the things say is quote-unquote successful. There's a series of boxes on social media that says, get the hot wife, get the white picket fence, get the sports car, get the kids, take the vacations, take the pictures, get the abs, get the bank balance. Like, get all these things, bro. Chase them. Chase them and chase them in the wrong order. Chase them and only chase the ones that are financially motivated. Chase them and chase them for the wrong reasons. And see how empty you feel at the end of that road. Chase them because you want somebody on social to tell you that you're awesome. See how you feel at the end of that road. Some of you guys that are listening to this are phenomenal earners, and you are scared shitless to take that superhero cape off. Well, Nick, in order to put my family first, I'd have to work less. And if I work less, well, we might not be able to afford the lifestyle that I've created for my wife and babies. Nick, I don't even love the way that I earn, but if I wanted to actually pivot to the thing that I know that I'm called to do, to the thing that I absolutely love, I don't see a way to monetize it. So I'm going to stay in this lane where I'm miserable, but I'm a good provider. And I'm going to stay here as long as it takes to make sure my family has everything. Nick, I'm actually putting my family first. That's the story you're telling yourself. Nick, if I have to tell my kids they don't get the private lessons or the trips overseas or, the brand name clothes because dad wants to make a pivot, because dad wants to work a little less because dad's stressed out of his mind and dad's miserable and dad's bringing that energy to the house. And I know you guys feel it. And believe it or not, if we went from shopping sprees at the mall to just shopping sprees at Target once in a while when we need it, you guys would actually be better for it. We would be better for it. Our dynamic would be better for it. But I've created a monster, Nick, and I don't know what to do. How do you take the superhero cape off in front of those babies? How do you tell your wife, hey, we're not doing 3 vacations this year. We're going to do 1 because I'm going to make a pivot. And I'm going to start being home more and I'm going to be more present. I'm going to cook some meals. We're going to quit buying shit and eating out every time and teaching our kids what it means to be unhealthy. We're going to change the game. As a result, it's going to cost a little bit of money, which is going to change your quality of life. Can you do it? It's a difficult one. I could tell you right now, as your kids get older, they see this. I had my daughter tell me once, my middle daughter, her name's Tyler Jade, and this was probably 6, 7, 8 years ago. And I had come home and I was on a tirade, and I was just exactly what I described earlier. What is going on? I've been working for 12 hours. This house is a mess. You didn't do what you were supposed to do. You're not doing what you're supposed to do. Do you guys have any clue what I do in a day? And then somehow I went to this sentence, believe it or not. Again, one-dimensional douchebag. Do you know how much money it takes to keep this house the way it is? To give you guys the things that you have? Do you know how much money I have to make in order to keep us at this quality of life? And it basically led to some version of, do you know how much money dad makes? And my daughter stopped me right there and said, Dad, but yeah, you make a lot of money. We've always known that. But are you happy? And she just hit me over the head with this. And the cool thing about kids is they, a lot of times they don't know how to pull punches. They just go straight for you. I mean, you could feel like it was an attack, like she went straight for the jugular, but she said exactly what needed to be said in that moment. She said, Dad, cool, bro, you make all this money, but look at you right now. Like, are you happy? Are you genuinely happy, Dad? And I'll remember that moment in time, where I was standing, where she was, how she said it, how it came about, because it literally pierced my soul. And for the last 6 years, as I've been working on myself in this world of quote-unquote personal development, we've built this concept around building the 4-dimensional man. Again, the four domains are faith, family, fitness, and finance. Faith, family, fitness, and finance. And you'll also hear me say 4 domains, 8 elements. 4 domains, 8 elements. So I'm going to give you guys, and I know this is a lot on a podcast, and I think I've talked to my team that publishes these, that they can drop a few comments on YouTube, or I don't know how Spotify and Apple work, but, somehow put like a quick little list of some things I go over so you guys can actually see them so they don't go in one ear, out the other. But the 4 domains, I've hammered them. You know them already, right? Faith, family, fitness, and finance. Inside house 2 elements. We kind of talked about the faith one. Inside faith, we have spirit and self. So your faith in spirituality, like how, let's go through these real quick and take a second. You can pause, or you could do it live real time if you're quick. But maybe you need to come back to this. Like, I want you to take your time on it. I want you to rate yourself scale of 1 to 10 across faith, family, fitness, and finance, but more importantly, these 8 elements. So scale of 1 to 10, your spirituality. Like, scale yourself 1 to 10. How connected are you with a higher power, with God? Element number 2, your faith in self. What is your belief in self? What is that? The easiest way to kind of figure out this one is, what is that talk track that is constantly playing from the minute you wake up to the minute you put your head back on that pillow? Most men, in my experience, are pretty hard on themselves. I know I've got some female listeners too, but I can only speak to men because that's who I coach. But what I'm saying is, like, in my experience, we're often our own biggest critic. Like, you've said this before out loud. Like, you could never be as hard on me as I will be on me. Like, I am my own worst critic, but often I am my own worst enemy. So scale of 1 to 10, what is your faith in yourself, your belief in yourself, your self-esteem, your self-efficacy? How much do you believe in yourself? Moving on to family, we've got 2 elements here, family and friend. So scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself in terms of how you're showing up? Again, I'll say this for the 100th time, inside of your 4 walls. Inside of your actual family, the wife and kids, how you show up every day, what those relationships are like, how connected are you with your wife and each of those babies. Scale yourself 1 to 10. Just give yourself a number on how you're showing up as a husband and a father. Number 2 is friends. Once you step out of your 4 walls, how do you conduct yourself in this world, like just in general? Like, how are you showing up for, little old ladies crossing the street, people in traffic, business partners if you have them. If you've got friends, do you guys just connect and hang out and talk about the things that matter? How are you showing up? Do you feel this is a real good one to think about? Would you say you're relational in all your interactions, or are you transactional? Right? So scale yourself 1 to 10 on friends. So we're 4 elements in: spirit, self, family, and friend. Moving on to the fitness domain, we've got 2 in here. First one is happy. Second one is healthy. So the happy one's easy. You can picture this in your brain right now. Don't close your eyes if you're driving, but listen. If you were to strip down to your drawers right now in the mirror, scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you with that image staring back? And it's not about being jacked, bro, and being single digits body fat and abbed up and veins and blah, 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 blah. It's none of that. But you should feel comfortable in your own skin. The level of confidence that comes with scoring yourself an 8, 9, 10, that person shows up with different energy. He walks into a room different. So scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you with your physical appearance? And then healthy, the second element. Let's say you were an 8, 9, 10. If I pop the hood on that bad boy, if I pop the hood on that Ferrari, what are you now? Have you done blood work? Have you had your gut biome checked? If I said, hey, you look great, bro, but go run a 5K. Can you get it done in under 30 minutes? Right? Those are sub 10-minute miles, back to back to back, 3.1. So, what's the engine like? If we pop the hood, how actually healthy are you, even if you are aesthetically awesome? So that's happy and healthy. And the last 2, this is the finance domain. Of course, we had to get to it, are make and manage. So the first question is, pull up your bank account. You can do this live right now while we're on this podcast. You can pause. But you have an idea of what's in there and what's not in there. Assets, the whole 9. Scale yourself 1 to 10 with your ability to make money. How much you're currently making or your ability to make money. Just find the number in there. And the last one, the last of the 8 elements, is manage. What is your ability to actually manage money? And we do it a little differently. We have an acronym here, which we won't get into. So for the sake of this short assessment, just scale yourself 1 to 10. And what is your ability to manage it, grow it, protect it, leverage it? Right? This is the difference between rich and wealthy. There's a lot of hustlers out there that have figured out how to turn a dollar, but then they can't turn a dollar into $5, if that makes sense. So make and manage, those are your 8 elements. And then if you want a fun little game here, I'm going to give you 2 more 1 to 10s just to give you a good 10-question survey. And then you could just take all your answers and divide them by 10, and you'll have a good percentage of kind of how you're showing up. We call this your capacity or your power score. So 2 more questions. These aren't elements, but they are specific to your elements, and that is your clarity and your commitment. So this one trips a lot of dudes up because it's not hard to kind of rate yourself as I give you these 8 elements. But then I ask, how clear are you on what it would look like to be a 4-dimensional man, to build the life that you want, to be successful in all 8 of these? How much clarity do you have? Let's just say you were a 4 out of 10 on your family. How clear are you on what a level 10 marriage looks like, or a level 10 relationship with your kids looks like? Now, it's different for everybody. My level 10 is not your level 10. So I want you to just think about, what level of clarity do I actually have in these 8 elements so I can start to create some targets and move towards them. So scale of 1 to 10, what is your clarity across any of these 8 elements, if not all? And the last one, what is your level of commitment? As you look at those numbers, and again, most of you, if you're listening to this on the road, or you're driving, or you're multitasking, or at the gym on a treadmill, etc., I get it. But if you get a chance to go back and rewind this episode and take these 10 questions serious, how committed are you on the numbers that are 5 and under, 6 and under? How committed are you to growth in those areas? Are you interested in a level 10 marriage? Or are you committed? That's a completely different human being right there. So, spirit, self, family, friend, happy, healthy, make, manage, clarity, commitment. 10 questions, 10 points each. That'll give you your total score, and that represents your percentage that you're showing up as. We call this, again, your capacity or your power. So I could give you a little hint right now. Hold on a second. This thing stops recording randomly. I'll give you a little piece of information. We've polled thousands of men with these exact questions, and the room average is 55. So most men, by their own admission, are showing up at around 55% of what they're capable of. So the good news is, the silver lining is, most men that have found their way to one of my lives or to our container or to a Zoom call or whatever, webinar, they're already operating at a pretty good level. So it's kind of cool to look around and say, man, I've built some pretty cool things. I built a pretty cool life at 55%. But what's possible if I could operate at 80, 85, 90? Now, make no mistake, there is no 100%. If you think you're a 10 out of 10 across the board, you've got a whole nother bag of issues. Hit me up in the comments and we can have that conversation. Nobody here is really pushing a 10. Even guys like myself and several others ahead of me that have been playing this game for a long time. Those 8 elements I just described to you actually make up the daily routine that myself, my colleagues, and my members do without fail as a non-negotiable 365 times a year. Like, we have a series of things that we do across those 8 elements to just move the needle if it's even 1% every single day, 365. Now, do we fall short? Of course. Do we miss a task once in a while? Yes. Are we on vacation? Does it not make sense one day? Do we get wrapped up in stories? Do some of us slide down the hill and get 3 elements done for 2 weeks in a row because we're stuck in our pit, stuck in our head and our stories? Yes. For the most part, if you want to play the game at a high level, whether you adopt those 8 or not, you need to be taking a hard look at your life and asking yourself, not the question of like, have I established work-life balance, but constantly doing this scan on like, where am I across these 8 elements? Where am I not satisfied if I see a low number, and how can I actually change that? Like, I am ultimately in control of my life. I mean, if you're so worried about what the world thinks that you have to keep the bank account at a certain level so you can drive a certain car so you could have the boat to take to the lake on the weekends to keep up with the Joneses, if that's more important to you than taking yourself from a 4 to a 7 in your family, then that's what's important to you. Like, I'm not here to judge. I'm here to have you consider, as people scream, I want work-life balance. Well, let's go hang out for a week, and I'll tell you what you want. You want people to head nod and tell you you're awesome because you've accomplished certain things in certain domains, and that feels better to you than to let those take a back seat for 90 days and major in your faith and major in your family and find what we call it harmony, not balance. What harmony, what rhythm is going to work well for you in the life that you're trying to build. The end. So that's building the 4-dimensional man. Again, I'll stress those again: faith, family, fitness, and finance. Inside of each of those, we've got elements, spirit and self in faith. We've got family and friend in family. We've got happy and healthy in fitness. And we've got make and manage in finance. And then the ultimate questions to ask as you score yourself is, what's my level of clarity in those areas, especially the areas where I'm maybe falling short, self-admittedly. And then how committed am I to growth? How committed am I to actually moving the needle in those? It's something you can do. I mean, we do it every 60 to 90 days inside the container. We definitely do it quarterly as we come up for air because we want to see if we're making progress. For example, if you say it's halfway through Q1, I heard this episode, I'm going to do this quick assessment. I'm a little low in these 2 categories. I'm gonna lean into this one for the next 45 days for the rest of Q1. And if I don't get it right, I'm going to still major in it for Q2. So let's say it's the end of Q2, which is what? April, May, June. So it's June 30th or July 1st or something. July 1st, you come up for air. It's the end of Q2, and you just do another assessment. And it would be a beautiful thing if you gave yourself a 4 in family. I mean, not to start there, but, this is growth. We're looking for growth. And then all of a sudden you were at 8 in family come the end of June, beginning of July. And what you'll often find is the finance domain doesn't suffer at all. You see, the thing about putting finance last, and this thing I have to stress, this is crucial, money is, again, it's only an amplifier of who you become. So what's crazy about putting finance last is it becomes the byproduct of the man that is developing himself in order to grow his money, right? So for example, I want to make $1 million, so I'm going to go ahead and get my faith, family, and fitness in line while still doing all the things that I'm good at inside of the finance world. Maybe I got a gift to gab, maybe I market well, maybe I'm a good leader, whatever it is, I'm not going to lose those skills, but I'm going to start to reprioritize my time and attention and my energy, and I'm going to start putting it towards these other domains, and what happens every single time, not some of the time, is, oh man, my finance domain's actually growing. And I found a really good rhythm, a good pocket that I could sit in finance where it only takes this many hours to either maintain or grow it. And as a result of working on these top 3 domains, faith, family, and fitness, my finance continues to win because it's a byproduct of the man that I'm becoming. So I'll leave you with that for today. Let's get these bad boys in order: faith, family, fitness, and finance. Take the 8-element quiz. The 2 bonus questions give you a nice round number 10, which allows you to get a pretty good assessment or percentage of kind of where you're at. And if you're not happy with your score, if it's a 55 or 60, no big deal. Look what you've built at 55, 60. What would it look like to operate at 85%? 85%. Like, what does the rest of this year look like if you could get some of those numbers up? So that's the 4-dimensional man. Those are the 8 elements. I'm Nick Alfano, and I'll see you on the other side.